Hi everyone, this is Luca from Oasis. Oasis is a layer one blockchain focused on open money and open data. And today it's my pleasure to have Xiaohan from Meter, a DeFi infrastructure with integrated low volatility coin.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me today, Luca. And it's our great pleasure to work with project like Oasis as well. Yeah. So in terms of myself, I'm an engineer with a finance background. I started my first 15 of my years of my career in engineering and R&D. And then I went to Wharton to get my MBA. After that, I started to do like investment, for example, from 2016, I started a VC fund. One of our investment focus was blockchain and fintech. That's how I got into the space. And in 2018, after we deployed the first fund, I feel I'm like a builder at heart. So I enjoy like building more than like investing. So I got into what I believe is like a mega trend, basically crypto, and started working on the project Meter. So for Meter, basically, started from day one, we are like trying to create like a DeFi infrastructure that with a built-in low volatility coin, or you can see as like say as a stable coin. Um, Basically, the goal is to have a crypto native stable coin and like address some of the scalability issues and also connecting with other blockchains, especially like layer one blockchains as a layer two solution. Basically, can allow different crypto asset to flow freely and interact with each other. Yeah, so that's a high level of what Meter does.
Thank you. That's extremely interesting, and I love how you're building a flexible solution that can be both a layer one and a layer two as needed. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about what it means to be a layer one blockchain or a layer one stable coin in your case?
Yeah,
And I'm asking this question because, of course, I think everyone is most used to see a stable coin as something built on top of a network, while your case is very unique because of this property. So you want to tell us more?
yeah, definitely. So if you look at most of the stable coin today, there are like, for example, ERC20 coins built with a smart contract. But from our perspective, because when we first started like crypto, the goal was for Bitcoin was to create a like independent currency, independent of the fiat system. So if you look at like a financial system, um, currency is actually one of the most fundamental building blocks. And if you're building your skyscraper on top of like uh, basically, like for example, if you build your currency as like application layers, there are all kinds of potential vulnerabilities. For example, like there are a lot of smart contract attacks that people have been experienced so far, and also it's very difficult to be like fully decentralized. For example, if you look at like USDT, USDC, they all have like something called like a owner key or like administrator key. They can like lock your account, block transactions, things like that. So when we do the currency at like layer one, basically that's the highest level of security blockchain could give, and that ensures basically the currency have the best security available to the upper level financial system. So that's why we believe there's a necessity for like a layer one type of uh, currency. And also, we can discuss about this later because we changed the consensus um, design for cryptocurrencies. It's actually become very difficult or like almost impossible to build it without touching the layer one. So that forced us to be like layer one as well. But even though we're like a layer one blockchain, we understand like basically stablecoin need to be used in all kinds of financial transaction scenarios, right? So it need to be integrated into other blockchains. So that's why when we connect to other blockchains, we will functioning more like a fully Ethereum compatible layer 2 and interacting with other blockchains as a sidechain. So that's a way we're viewing ourselves to be used in other blockchains.
All right, so I'm very curious to hear more about this consensus mechanism that you referenced to before, and also about the unique use cases that Meter can enable. And I know a little bit about it, and I'm very excited to hear that from you. But before even going into that, with all the stablecoin adoption, and with the other stablecoin that are either coming to the market or they're in the market and growing in usage, I'm very curious to start from really understanding why Meter and how Meter is different from other players in the space.
Sure. So if you look at all the stablecoin on the market today, other than the layer 1, layer 2, layer 1 or smart contract we described just now, there's also a fundamental difference is almost all the stablecoin today are in fact pegged coins. Basically, they're either pegged to US dollar or pegged to gold or something else, for example. But let's say giving the US dollar as an example, based on international finance theory, basically in order to create a real pegged coin, there's only two ways to do it. The first way is the Chinese way. Basically, you do not allow free flow of capital. Obviously, no one likes it. The other way is the Hong Kong way. So basically, you have 100% reserve in the currency you peg to. Then you can basically do always basically do the recovery, do the exchange. So that's theoretically only two valid way to maintain a peg. So from that perspective, if we do the Hong Kong way, that's basically USDT, USDC type of approach. That can only be a centralized approach because you need to have a centralized entity to manage that centralized pool. That pool cannot be break up. Once it breaks up, it actually can no longer maintain the peg at scale. The other, the other possibility people are trying to experiment is using crypto as collaterals. But there's fundamental capacity issues because of this, because of the international finance theory I mentioned, because you're fundamentally not using the currency you're pegging to. That's why, for example, when DAI tried to use Ethereum as or other crypto asset as collateral, they have restrictions on the amount of Ethereum, for example, can be used as collateral. Because if there are too many Ethereums used as collateral for DAI, then during a potential liquidation scenario, a lot of Ethereums will be sold on the market, on the DEX. And that basically will create an avalanche effect, causing the entire market to collapse. So basically, that's why they have certain limitations on the capacity of the DAI issuance and the amount of Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies in their entire circulation can be used as collaterals. So basically, another issue is they have to rely on Oracle, which is typically a centralized approach, because even you have different ways of decentralize your validators, data feeders, but fundamentally good data source, there's only very limited number of good data sources available in this world. So that naturally become a centralized approach. So that's a issue for the basically crypto collateral based like a stable coin. So the way Meter doing this is basically, if you look at the international finance theory, basically there's something called the impossible trinity. So basically fixed exchange rate, free flow of capital, and the independent monetary policy. These three things cannot be coexist at the same time, right? So basically we give up on the fixed exchange rate part and take the other two sides. Basically, by doing that, we give up the strong peg to $1, but we have a fixed production cost for like proof of work mining. So if you look at proof of work miners, especially Bitcoin miners, basically they're all profit driven. So whenever there's like a profit, if a mining a coin, there's a profit, they will go mining that coin. For example, like if you look at the BSV, BCH, and the BTC, like consistently there's miners arbitraging and moving hash rate around in these three coins because they share the same hash rate algorithms. So basically, when we design meter, we basically create like an algorithm, and at the low level, basically whenever you burn around 10 kilowatt hour of electricity with mainstream Bitcoin miners, on average, you can create one coin. So that's more like a fixed production cost for the miners. And then if the market price is higher for the coin, there's more margin for the miners. The miner will deploy more hash rate. And when the market price drops, the miner basically will notice there's not enough margin for them, and they will basically move out the hash rate. Basically, and the production will drop, bring the system to like a dynamic equilibrium. Also, we have an internal mechanism to basically consistently consume the low volatility coins created by the miner. So basically that dynamic will create a systematic equilibrium that will settle more on the marginal production cost for the coin. So for example, when we do like 10 kilowatt hour of electricity for mining a coin, so at the end of the day, the price of that coin will gradually, in a competitive environment, settles around the cost of electricity, the global competitive cost of electricity for that coin.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so basically we're using the same algorithm as the Bitcoin, the SHA-256, for creating the low volatility coin. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you give us an answer that started from the more higher level problem and then went deeper into understanding what are the nuances of the technical aspects of some of the other protocols and coins that you mentioned. And this brings me to my next question, which is you have a very interesting and unique consensus mechanism based on different elements.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious to hear that from you directly, how that works. How did you come up with this design model, and what kind of benefits does this mechanism allow?
Yeah. So basically, if you look at all existing cryptocurrency today, so you will notice at the consensus layer, basically, they are mixing two things. They're mixing currency creation with record keeping. Basically, the newly created currency is a reward for validators or miners to maintain the ledger. But fundamentally, there are two consensus going on in the system. So one consensus is like maintaining the record to prevent double spending. So that's what the Satoshi's white paper is mainly talking about. But this actually doesn't require a lot of energy. Basically, you just need to make sure the information are thoroughly propagated in the system and agreed upon. There's another consensus going on in the system that's actually implicit and potentially can be very energy consuming. That's like economic consensus on basically what's the value of newly created coin and how much new value has been added into the system. So in a proof of work system, basically miners are doing that through like competition with their hashing powers, and they are reaching consensus on the value of the newly created, let's say Bitcoin or Ethereum. But on a proof of stake system, there's actually people like basically didn't really care about the economic consensus. Basically, the inflation of the system is just an arbitrary value typically set by the developer and sometimes can be adjusted by the community. So basically, the way we look at the problem is since if you look at the history, the miners for gold and silver were never the same group of people as bankers and accountants, right? Why do you mix up the two? and creating unnecessarily conflict of interest. So essentially, we separate the two consensus, and actually have two coins represents the two consensus as well. So basically, we use proof of work to create a low volatility coin and have a fixed production cost, and have miners to basically arbitrage with their hashing powers. But naturally, um, the hashing power of the system will not be stable, and we cannot rely on it for security purpose. So we use basically proof of stake based hot stuff consensus for record keeping. So we have another coin, we call it the governance coin. So basically that's a staking coin to be a validator. And like we're running like hot stuff consensus among the validators. So we can support like hundreds of nodes doing like second level like finality and very high performance. So basically when we do that, we realize actually we can combine the benefits of both worlds, because the economic model we created for proof of work, most of the concern for proof of work is waste of energy, right? But like because of we redesigned the economic gain, so the hash rate in the system no longer like correlates to the price of the coin, because the price of coin is more or less like fixed. It actually only correlates to the number of new coins needed in the system. So only the increment of market cap requires this proof of work consensus. We actually did a calculation in order to support like a U.S. economy size of like economic entity. The annual mining cost will be similar to the annual budget for U.S. Mint and U.S. Engrave and Print. So it can be as efficient as fiat. And also proof of stake wise, we have higher performance, like fast finality. And also we can avoid the distribution issues for proof of stake, because in a proof of stake system, like a lot of people complaining after the initial distribution, because the people have a lot of coins, can staking and keep on getting these coins. So it's very difficult to get decentralized if the original holders doesn't sell. But the way we distribute the governance token or the the staking coin is we have like daily competitive on-chain auctions, and like the users have to use the low volatility coin, the we call it the meter, to exchange, to bid for the newly created governance coin. So it's more like the governance coin is the real Bitcoin. The low volatility coin is the mining credit. In Bitcoin, basically miners use hash rate to directly compete for the newly created Bitcoin. But in Meter, people convert their hashing rate into the mining credit and use the mining credit as a financial tool to compete for the newly created governance token. So basically, that will create consumption for the currency coin as well. Yeah, so basically that addressed the distribution issue for proof of stake system as well. So that's why we feel this is like a very interesting experiment that like we should definitely try it in a like crypto currency environment. And yeah, that's how we started the project in 2018, and finally launched the project, the mainnet, in July this year.
And I think on top of looking at the cryptocurrency environment, right? You also invested more energy into the DeFi space, right? So you zoomed in from like solving a problem from the cryptocurrency space to actually specializing a little bit more into the DeFi space. So I'm very curious, when you think of the DeFi space in general, how do you see the role of stablecoins, and what would be, I don't want to say the next generation of stablecoins, but let's say, where do you see, like, what do you see all this change that is happening in the stablecoin that you're bringing, that other companies are bringing? How do you see this change improve the actual DeFi space?
Yeah. So basically, the fundamental like building blocks for DeFi, one of the most important building blocks of DeFi is like lending, borrowing and lending. Actually, this sector will not exist without like a stable coin. Because like, for example, without a stable coin, how do you calculate the interest, right? It doesn't make sense to charge interest on a on a volatile asset. Everything will become like so whack. And so basically, without stable coin, there will be no DeFi essentially. Um, and in terms of like the future for stablecoin, so basically we see the regulatory, basically the regulations for stablecoin will become more and more strict, especially in the U.S. For example, if you look at the recent activities, the the U.S. government or like financial regulators have imposed to USDT. You can see this trend, right? So we see this getting more and more strict. So one of the benefit of the meter type of solution is we're not saying we're trying to replace USDT or other like USDC like immediately, because I mean there's definitely like bigger use cases for USD pegged stable coins, but we would like to bring an alternative, and that doesn't have because it's like a proof of work mining created, and from day one it's completely decentralized. So even we don't have any pre-mine or anything with a low volatility coin. We call it MTR in meter. So everyone have to mine. So basically, because of this nature, it avoids like a lot of regulatory concerns, and because of it's using like a global competitive electricity as a ruler. Um, it's interesting wise, it's purchasing power wise very stable over the last 60, 70 years, and it can avoid so many like regulatory concerns of the fiat-backed stablecoin. So we believe it can bring at least a very interesting alternative for crypto for the DeFi space. And also, um, like we're using this low volatility coin as like transactions fees paying gases within the meter blockchain. So it's at least we'll be like using this as building our chain as a fundamental block. Yeah, and basically all the DeFi applications built on meter can have an alternative stable coin essentially.
And exciting to see how you interpret this difference between some types of stablecoin and the way they actually enable different types of lending. One thing you said at the beginning is that lending on a volatile asset doesn't make too much sense. I love to think this that way. I love to think this in a way that reflects the market segmentation. There is a population that already has crypto assets, maybe like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other tokens, and they don't want to sell it, but they want to get more out of these tokens, which basically solves this very old situation where there is one side of the market that has an excess of capital, and there is another side of the market that has a need for additional capital, and maybe this would be the case of like compound. And then there is another set of the population, which maybe is like way bigger potentially, that has simply like stable assets. You can say dollar, you can say like euros, you can say all the other currencies potentially that maybe like fit more into the model that you're trying to solve. And I'm very excited to do this because like personally and as a company Oasis, we strongly believe the evolution of DeFi in general will probably not going to be inside DeFi, but it's probably going to be outside of DeFi. And the second this boundaries between DeFi and non-DeFi are gonna be broken, that's probably where we're gonna see this shift to mass adoption. And we're trying to position ourselves there. We think that one of the key elements for this is privacy, and the way we see it is we think that privacy is privacy in terms of privacy of the smart contract is actually something that encourages participation of institutions, helps as well fight some of the problems that full transparency is causing, like high fees and front running being some of those.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm very interested in learning more from you. How do you see the role of privacy in the evolution of DeFi, and
Yeah.
also the roadmap that Meter is going for?
Yeah, so basically, like we believe privacy is extremely important. There's actually different segments of the market, right? So certain applications you want full transparency. For example, if you're transacting with a like completely unknown person, you want to be like fully transparent. So like to avoid like either side is cheating. But there's another like segment. Basically, when you trying to do certain transactions, you don't want other people to see it. Uh, for example, like paying some like important business partner that have like relationship with you, or like a certain type of strategy you are building. You don't want the people to like just observe and steal your intellectual properties, right? So that type of applications definitely requires privacy. And when we build Meter, because we're targeting currency type of applications, we want to be fully transparent. That's why we don't have any like layer one built-in type of privacy. We believe the privacy type of uh, like enhancement is better to collaborate with other chains, or basically building on top of like what we after we create the currency. For example, like once the currency is created, you can send it to other parties in a like completely private channel, or like you can put it in a smart contract executing in a like a private and secure way. So that's why we believe the collaboration with Oasis will be like a great fit. And also interconnecting with Oasis is like pretty straightforward, because basically you guys, uh, I believe you guys are based on like the Tendermint code base, right? So basically there is a finality and easy to do like cross-chain communications with Meter, which also have a finality. And basically, Dawn is very active in IC3, and we are very active in IC3 as well. So basically, like there are a lot of synergies in between. Yeah. So yeah, that's why we believe Oasis will be like a great partner.
That's very good to hear. Of course, as a network and as a company that builds on top of that network, we are trying to be selective on one side and open on the other side. So we love to see and we love to hear what you just said. I think you also raised one very important distinction that we love, which is privacy doesn't mean hiding information, but privacy means the ability of writing applications that can be keeping the information private to the people or to the entities that need to have access to that information, and not to the people or to the entities that don't have to have access to that information. And at the same time, offer still the ability of writing public information and transparent information whenever needed. So
Yeah.
we
So
design,
basically, if you look at like I would say 90% of today's business transactions are private, right?
right?
Like the parties doesn't want to expose everything to the public. So I think that will bring like more the traditional like business cases into blockchain. Yeah.
That's right. That's what we believe. That's what we're investing on, and that's how
Mhm.
we are designing the first version of the network for sure. All right, we're getting to the end. I wanted to ask you one more thing, which is where is Meter going? What's next for Meter? What are the next steps there?
Yeah. So basically for us, since we're like basically wrapping up the layer one development, so we are actually releasing one more release today. Basically, it will fully support like for example, user can use MetaMask or like traditional Ethereum wallet to interact with Meter. Um, Basically, we added like emulation layer for Ethereum on top of our layer one, and all the smart contract will be able to run on Meter freely. So basically, after we complete this, the next phase is basically building more application-oriented approach. Basically, first we need to like build bridges to interact with other blockchains. We already built a bridge to like operate and interact with Ethereum, and we'll be building one for like interacting with Oasis as well. So basically allow our tokens to freely flow to other blockchains. And then the next phase is, the next focus is basically building more DeFi-oriented applications. So we already launching a new like a market making engine. Basically, if you look at today's like Uniswap, basically it's using a more like a fixed formula type of thing to basically try to create the price based on how many tokens on individual pools. For example, for like ETH, USD, you have like a ETH pool and the USDT pool. The market making engine assumes the two have the same value. So basically, we create a more a different approach. Basically, we use like data feed from oracles and also Uniswap itself to get the market price quote for our market making engine. So even the user doesn't provide a balanced liquidity pool for the market making engine, it can still matching the price and provide a good liquidity, which allows people to provide liquidity with exposure to just one side. So basically, to reduce the impermanent losses for the market making engines. So basically, this is just one of the applications we're developing. So it will initially launch on Ethereum and later move to Meter. And we have other like applications under development as well. So basically, our strategy is to, instead of like trying to push Meter as a layer one to solve everything, we focus more like a application and user-oriented approach to create several like applications to attract users, and then basically hiding the Meter complexity of layer one at the back end. Yeah. So that's a strategy we're pushing Meter.
Congrats. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Yeah.
It must not be easy, but the beautiful part of the blockchain space is that there's so much collaboration happening.
Yep.
That really like we can build strong partnerships and help each other. All right, that concludes this fireside chat. Thanks a lot for being with us. We are very excited to partner together.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, great to partner with Oasis, and looking forward to work closely together.
Thank you. Likewise, of course. Thanks.
Thank you.